Well, we've got a kind of a catfight here. It's Bill Maher and Reza Aslan. Bill Maher on his program talked about how were not giving enough attention to Islamic violence and oppression. On which planet, Bill? I believe that's all anybody talks about on TV, right? And he blamed liberals for ignoring violence and oppression that goes on in Muslim nations, a blanket statement about Muslim nations, right? Does it happen in some Muslim nations? Of course it does. And by the way, on our program, we talk about it all the time, okay? Now, when you make a blanket statement like that, you're stepping into a minefield because it's not true. Now, the guy who's going to correct your ass is Reza Aslan. Aslan, in some languages, means lion. So you're going to hear Reza roar here. He's going to go on CNN and take on Bill Maher's concept.
You know, frankly, when it comes to the topic of religion, he's not very sophisticated in the way that he thinks. I mean, the argument about the female genital mutilation being an Islamic problem is a perfect example of that. It's not an Islamic problem, it's an African problem.
Well, wait, because he says it's a, hold on a second, Reza, because he says it's a Muslim country problem. He says that in Somalia...
Yeah, but that's actually empirically, factually incorrect. It's a Central African problem. Eritrea has almost 90% female genital mutilation. It's a Christian country. Ethiopia has 75% female genital mutilation. It's a Christian country. Nowhere else in the Muslim majority states is female genital mutilation an issue.
He's like, wait, what'd you say again? Oh, that was freaking awesome. So, but wait, what about the Muslim nations? Oh, 90%, 75% Christian nation. Dude, if you're going to come against Reza, you better come correct. And he ain't halfway done yet.
But again, this is the problem, is that you make these facile arguments like that women are somehow mistreated in the Muslim world. Well, that's certainly true in many Muslim majority countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia. Do you know that Muslims have elected 7 women as their heads of states in those Muslim majority countries? How many women do we have as head of states in the United States?
Reza, be honest though, for the most part it is not a free and open society for women in those states.
Well, it's not in Iran, it's not in Saudi Arabia, it certainly is in Indonesia and Malaysia, it certainly is in Bangladesh, it certainly is in Turkey. I mean, again, this is the problem, is that you're talking about a religion of 1.5 billion people, and certainly it becomes very easy to just simply paint them all with a single brush by saying, well, in Saudi Arabia they can't drive, and so therefore that's somehow representative of Islam. It's representative of Saudi Arabia.
He's pulverizing them. Okay, my favorite part was Don Lemon like, now be honest, it's a big problem in Muslim countries. He's like, well, actually, okay, I'm sure Don Lemon doesn't know this, Bill Maher doesn't know this, most of the people that talk about Muslim countries don't know this, but Indonesia has a much larger Muslim population than any Middle Eastern country does, okay? Bangladesh has a much larger Muslim population. India has a much larger Muslim population. Women don't have any issues there, okay? Now look, when in countries where they do have issues like Iran, we call them out nonstop. You know that the sons of bitches in the Iranian government the other day executed a guy for heresy because they said he did innovations in Islam. That doesn't sound so bad, that sounds pretty good, right? But they killed him for that. So that drives us crazy. We're secular, we don't like that. We hate that, right? But you've got to be accurate in your criticism. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about some poor Indonesian, Malaysian person? Or are you talking about the government of Saudi Arabia? You don't know a thing, you're so uneducated, it's sad. But luckily, Reza's here to regulate. Keep on going.
I mean, I think that Bill Maher's point is that these aren't extremists. We often talk about extremists and that we should crack down on extremists. And why aren't Muslims speaking out about extremists? In Saudi Arabia, when women can't vote and they can't drive and they need permission from their husband, that's not extremists. Why aren't we talking more about what? That's not extremists, that's commonplace. Why don't we talk more about the commonplace wrongs that are happening in some of these countries?
It's extremist when compared to the rights and responsibilities of women, Muslim women around the world. It's an extremist way of dealing with it.
But it's not extremist in that. It's not extremist in that country, in Saudi Arabia. That's the norm.
Oh no, it's not. I mean, look, Saudi Arabia is one of the most, if not the most extremist Muslim country in the world. In the month that we've been talking about ISIS and their terrible actions in Iraq and Syria, Saudi Arabia, our closest ally, has beheaded 19 people. Nobody seems to care about that because Saudi Arabia sort of preserves our national interests.
Okay.
You know, this is the problem, is that these kinds of conversations that we're having aren't really being had in any kind of legitimate way. We're not talking about women in the Muslim world. We're using 2 or 3 examples to justify a generalization. That's actually the definition of bigotry.
All right.
Oh, damn. Damn, that was good. Okay. And by the way, again, the heart of what Bill Maher said is exactly wrong. You know who are the only people talking about the executions in Saudi Arabia? Liberals. We've talked about it endlessly on this show. This is supposed to be our top ally. Are you kidding me? They do more beheadings than ISIS does. How are they our ally? It's because they have cheap oil, and they're willing to flood the market when we tell them to lower the price of oil. So we let them get away with let them get away with murder and decapitations and beheadings because what? They got cheap oil. We're the only ones talking about that. You think conservatives bring that up? They hate that. You know what conservatives do? They walk around Crawford holding hands with the Saudi king and kissing him on the cheeks. That's what George W. Bush did, okay? So now get it right when you're talking about different countries. But they're not done yet. I can't believe they went back for more of this ass-handing that Reza's giving them. Give it to him one more time.
So, Reza, you don't think that there's anything more, there's the justice system in Muslim countries you don't think is somehow more primitive or subjugates women more than in other countries?
Did you hear what you just said? You said in Muslim countries. I just told you that Indonesia, women are absolutely 100% equal to men. In Turkey, they have had more female representatives, more female heads of state in Turkey than we have in the United States.
Yes, but in Pakistan,
stop saying things like Muslim countries.
Women are still being stoned.
And that's a problem for Pakistan. You're
so in
right.
other words,
so let's criticize Pakistan.
I just want to be clear on what your point is, because I thought you and Bill Maher were saying the same thing. Your point is that Muslim countries are not to blame.
The actions of individuals and societies and countries like Iran, like Pakistan, like Saudi Arabia must be condemned because they don't belong in the 21st century. But to say Muslim countries as though Pakistan and Turkey are the same, as though Indonesia and Saudi Arabia are the same, as though somehow what is happening in the most extreme forms of these repressive countries, these autocratic countries, is representative of what's happening in every other Muslim country, is frankly, and I use this word seriously, stupid.
Oh, damn. Did you hear what you just said? Are you going to sit there and bleed all day, or are you going to do something about it? Oh, that was an ass kicking, unlike really the likes of which I have not seen in a long time. That was awesome. Nice job, Reza Aslan. That's how you conduct a debate, where you actually come with facts and you don't deal with their stupid talking points and accept them as true. You say, no, your talking points are incorrect. Now let me come correct to you and tell you what reality is.